Hello, this is Megan.
And this is Mark.
Welcome to our 12th video of the Stars Land construction at Disneyland. Today is August 3rd, 2017.
To start it off, we'll look at the side building of the Battle Escape. On the top, concrete has been added. Also notice that wooden forms have been put up to create concrete castings. And these concrete castings will provide structural support for whatever they're going to build on top of them. The worker in the middle of the picture is installing a roof curb for an air handling unit. And located behind him, a worker is adding touch-up concrete to a wall to fill in the crevices left over from a concrete form. Now if we look to the right a little bit, we can see that concrete is being added. The workers are using a concrete boom pump to distribute the concrete to the horizontal rebar. Next, if we look at the top level of the Battle Escape show building, we can see that metal framework is being put up. More than likely, this is going to be used for rock work. Here workers are welding beams together. Now we'll slide to the left. Inside the Battle Escape on the second level, a worker is using a ride-on power trowel. A ride-on power trowel is used to apply a smooth finish to concrete slabs. Over here, the arms of a concrete boom pump are extending to the top of the show building. A worker is guiding the hose of the boom pump to distribute the concrete. Next, workers are spreading the concrete to space it out evenly and push it between the wire mesh. Alright, here at the Millennium Falcon Show building, a stairwell is being made. Also, the beam structures at the top of the show building are increasing in size. Notice that a worker is welding beams together. Now we're looking at the other side of the beam structures from Mickey's Toontown. Next, we'll head over to the tunnel entrance to Star Wars Land, the one that's closest to Fantasyland. We'll go ahead and peek through the fence. Here we can see that dirt is being moved where the village area will be. Looking at the sidewall of the Battle Escape, we can see that more insulation has been added between the metal studs. And at the top of the show building, a worker is adjusting beams, which will be used for rock work. Also at the top, workers are placing a beam into position.
Today is August 10th, 2017.
Looking at the top of the Battle Escape side building, the forms have been removed that were surrounding the concrete block castings. Notice that anchor bolts are extending out of the concrete. These anchor bolts will be used as fasteners to attach vertical structural support to the concrete castings. And the insulated roof curb hasn't changed much since we saw it last, but it does look like it's ready for an air handler to be placed on top. Now if we look at the crawler crane behind the Battle Escape and near the Millennium Falcon Shell building, 3 cables are being used. Typically, they've only been using 1 cable to lift beams and other building supplies. Since there are 3 in position, this indicates that they're getting ready to lift something heavier than usual. Now if we look to the right a little bit, we can see that workers are on one of the beam structures on top of the Millennium Falcon Shell building. Let's get a closer look. It looks like they're doing some measurements and using a level to make sure the beams are correctly positioned. Alright, next we'll go into Disneyland. We're next to Tarzan's treehouse, and we'll go to the top to see what we can see from that perspective. The crane is lowering a huge beam structure. Wow, that is massive. The workers are guiding the structure into position. This is the exact spot that we saw workers taking measurements before we came into Disneyland. We'll get a different angle so the sailing ship Columbia in the foreground will be to our left. The beam structure is slowly being lowered for accuracy. Alright, it looks like the beams are getting close to being connected. The beams are in position. If you look closely, you can see workers using podgers to align the bolt holes together from beam to beam. I believe this beam structure marks the highest point in Star Wars Land. Also, we can see what the final look of the spire will be by comparing it to the Star Wars Land model. It'll look approximately like this. Notice that horizontal beams are sticking out. These beams will be used to attach the rock forms to the beam structure, and also to be used for scaffolding support, so the scaffolding boards can be placed on top of the beams. This will allow the workers to create detail work on the rock spires. Now we'll view the beam structure from the ground level. Notice that there's an American flag at the very top, marking where the highest spot will be in Star Wars Land. Also, there's an evergreen tree at the top as well. At a construction site, it's an ironworker's tradition to have as tallest point a flag and a tree. This is called topping out. Here we are in Mickey's Toontown to get a look of the beam structure from this perspective, and it looks like the beam structure is being lifted once again. You can start to see the separation between the beams. It is possible that the workers temporarily put this in position to evaluate beam alignments, making sure everything lines up properly. This beam structure is amazing. Wow, it is massive.
Today's August 17th, 2017.
And we're at the Mickey and Friends parking structure watching one of the crawler cranes transport a lifting cage to the top level of the Battle Escape. Inside the cage is ductwork for the HVAC system. Here workers are lifting a piece out of the cage. Notice that there are different shapes and sizes of ductwork that have been put on top of the building. The shape and size of each piece is dependent on where it'll eventually be put in place. If we look inside the building where the docking bay will be, workers are welding beams together for the wall framing. Now if we focus our attention to the top of the side building, we can see that air handlers have been brought in. This is what it looked like last time we were here, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. Next, we'll go to the street level. We can see that the Millennium Falcon show building has changed a lot, such as the stairs, this beam structure, and the right half of the building. Here's what it looked like last month, and I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like now. We're now on the Mark Twain riverboat, and we're on it to see the development of Star Wars Land from this perspective. Here we have a great view of the framework on the top and side of the Battle Escape show building, which will eventually be for the rockwork. Next, we'll peek through the fence on Big Thunder Trail. We can see that the top beam structure has not been put back on yet. However, if we pan to the right and pause the picture right here, we can see the beam structure on the ground level. A worker is adjusting one of the horizontal beams of the structure. Now he's tightening it into position.
Today is August 26, 2017.
We're in Mickey's Toontown and we'll go on Donald's boat to see how the beam structure has changed. And as we can see, the beam structure has returned to the top. This is what it looked like last week, and this is what it looks like now. The American flag and the tree are still on top, and also notice to the right of the flag is a spotlight to illuminate the flag at nighttime. Another really cool part of this beam structure is that Disney cast members had the opportunity back in July to sign their name and write a message on the beams. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. That is a really nice touch. Next, we'll peek through the fence on Big Thunder Trail. Disney announced that this highest beam structure in Star Wars Land is approximately 130 feet tall. This structure is almost as tall as the highest point in Disneyland, which is the Matterhorn, which is 147 feet tall. Here we are at the parking structure, and the beam structure looks just as impressive from this perspective. If we look below the beam structure, decking has been added to the top level of the Millennium Falcon show building. And to the left, ductwork has been brought in also. Now if we focus our attention to the Battle Escape, we can see that welded wire mesh has been laid out on the top level where the docking bay will be. This wire mesh will be used to reinforce the concrete slab once it's added. Notice that there are hole openings between the decking and the wire mesh. These openings will be used to connect the ductwork to the levels below. Here we can see that more framework has been assembled for the rockwork on the top and extending off the side of the battle escape. Next, we'll go down to the street level. Here we can see that more internal framework has been added to the docking bay area. Notice that there's a curvature to the beams. It's possible this is framework for a projection screen, but we'll just have to wait and see. And here's a different angle. Well, that's a taste of things to come.
We can't wait to see what they build next.